Well, I haven't heard the report of the cannon yet, but I expect we will before this morning is through. We're talking to you, the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base, not too far from the old base oval and the beautiful stone barracks, in a field that has become known for its encampments of one kind or another. It is a Saturday morning, May 15th, 2010. It's not really blustery, but it's windy, and the temperatures are in the low 50s. Good day for people to get together and have a little battle. What would you guess, huh? Something that's been planned for a long time. As a matter of fact, this is the third annual Civil War encampment. Matt and company have planned this for a long time each year. They expected well over 100 reenactors to encamp here today. They have several cannon, so there will be those cannon reports later on in the morning. And I promise you that it won't be the first time in history that cannon have been heard from these grounds. This was one of the most active military installations in the United States before the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base closed back in 1995. So we'll have some mock battles today. We're here just after 10 o'clock in the morning. The first battle takes place at 11. There'll be another one this afternoon at 1 o'clock. And this year, an added feature, a court-martial. Mind you, the reenacting they'll be doing today does not precisely follow a scenario of any specific battle, but they took elements from several battles and put them together to show the viewers, if you will, the audience that stops by, what might happen. This is a two-day event, the third annual Civil War encampment on the former base. So it'll be fun all day today. We'll get to talk to some of the organizers and some of the people who are reenacting. And then they'll all be back to do it again tomorrow. Stay tuned. This could be a fun and historic show. We're back again for the third time. The Bobbsey twins are here. I forgot your first name.
Daniel.
From Champaign, Illinois.
Absolutely.
You came here just for this occasion?
Yes, I did.
Have you been here a while this time?
Yes. Matt has been extremely accommodating. And as always a pleasure to be here and to be able to come to this event.
You enjoyed it the first year, and you're going to keep coming back?
Absolutely, as much as if I can come back. It's a great event, and happy to be here.
Matt Houston, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm just doing great. You guys are going to do it for the third year in a row.
Yes, sir, we are.
Did you stay here last night?
We did. We did. It was a good
head
night.
Start on
it was a good night.
We had no frost on the proverbial pumpkin last night.
That's it. And no rain either, so we'll take it.
Love it. It's in the 50s now with a little bit of wind, but with those nice wool uniforms on, there'll be no problem there.
That's it. A little breeze is always welcome.
Now, this Civil War encampment was initially your idea, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. We really wanted to have an event early on in the reenacting season. It starts usually around May, and this is actually the first event of the year for Civil War reenacting. And we wanted to have a local event that would commemorate the service of New York regiments from this area that fought in the Civil War. And there were quite a few of them, in fact, and some of them are represented here. The 118th, which was the Adirondack Regiment. Our unit, the 60th New York, which was the 1st St. Lawrence Regiment. So we're here to commemorate their service and just celebrate the Civil War and the history that is Plattsburgh's.
While we're standing here and we got you tied down, I know you guys are going to be out and about throughout the course of today. I want to just give a little history to our viewers who may not know that this part of the northern New York State had any involvement in the Civil War at all.
They were very involved. Pretty much every town, every area, every region in this area provided soldiers in volunteer infantry regiments, artillery regiments, cavalry regiments from across the area, and they all went to Albany, mustered into units, and marched in every campaign of the Civil War. New York was one of the major contributors of troops in this area. Definitely contributed as well.
Did you get involved with reenacting before you met this dude over here?
Oh, yes. I was originally up in Canada for a while and started up there, and then Now out in Illinois, I'm with another regiment out there, and just keeps going since it's a fantastic hobby, and it is a lot. This entire area, is key for a lot of the members that were raised and went off. A very, very high German population was in New York, Pennsylvania, all that went off. And just numerous other groups. The Irish came out of New York as well. There are numerous other ethnic populations that were recruited and filled in the ranks of regiments that were up to 100% of their ethnicity, and then went off and served in about every theater of the war.
We talked yesterday in real time on the 14th of May with Tom Mandeville and Tommy Prey about a special upcoming event in June at Point of Fair, a different time in history.
Yeah.
But we got to talk generally about reenacting and how it becomes a real passion and fever for people. Now, are you guys both pretty much focused on the Civil War, or do you do other reenacting too?
Well, for myself, I do every time period from the French and Indian War in the 1750s all the way up to World War II, and I do everything that I can. It's not just a hobby. It's really a way of life. It encompasses everything you do.
It does become a way of life. How about you?
It's completely another life, if you will, and focused on the Civil War. And Matt, as always, has managed to rope me into some other new adventure and deal. So now it's World War II, and we're just going forward with that one. But reenacting really is like a life. Most of us here do it just to get that much closer to those that we know, of our ancestors that were actually out and about and went off and did their duty in this period. So it's a way for us to really walk in their shoes for a 48-hour period and better understand what was going on.
Sometimes the shoes aren't so comfortable.
That's true. That is true, definitely.
You try to be as authentic as possible with the clothes, right?
Yes.
Some people make their own clothes, I've noticed.
Yes, lots of people make their own clothes. There's always people that will make clothes for others, but a lot of people put the effort into making their own uniforms and that kind of thing. A, to save money, and B, because it gives you a whole new aspect of the experience. Typically, most people nowadays don't make their own clothes. To make a pair of trousers and make a jacket is definitely a new and very strange experience for some of us. I can tell you that much. I've begun attempting my first jacket. So.
Oh, have you really? I want to see you with a needle and thread, Matthew.
Oh, it's scary.
It's definitely a wake up in terms of today that, I've done much sewing and stuff on my uniforms and all that, but it also is the other half is a lot of uniforms were sewn and handmade from home and were either sent to family members that were out. So a lot of uniforms would have been a bit mismatched only because a lot of them were homemade, given to their sons or husbands or whatnot that were out at the front, just because a lot of them weren't issued. During the later periods of the war, supplies got cut a lot, and you'd get stuff from home that would have been homemade.
Sometimes you need to enlist the support of family and friends when you go so crazy following this passion of yours. I know Matt's family has always been behind him. I've heard stories long before I met Matthew from his mother. Well, we're going to Gettysburg again.
Oh, yeah.
How many times to Gettysburg?
Oh, I'd say, every summer since I was 7, so I'm 20 now. So
that's not in your bloodstream now. It never will be.
Oh, definitely. It's vital to have support, especially if you're, trying to reenact at a young age. You don't have a driver's license. You don't have the financial means to procure, the things you need. So without my parents, it never would have happened. So I owe them a lot in being able to.
Is your dad here this weekend?
He is. He's out training right now with the artillery unit.
Should I know? You got extra cannon here this year?
We do. We're expecting to have 2 more guns than we did last year, so 6 in total.
So there'll be some sound to
Just
go along with our video later on.
Just a little.
Now, just as we spoke, a little bit of sun tried to poke through the cloud behind me.
We're hoping it continues to do that.
For those people watching this who didn't make the encampment this weekend. Tell them what to expect.
Well, we're going with a late war theme this year. As always, it's not a battle that actually ever took place, but it takes components from battles that did happen. So it's a battle that could have happened but didn't. And it's late war, something along the lines of Cold Harbor. Very late in the war. Grant's taken command of the entire Union Army, and the Confederates are well on their way to being on the run. So basically today there's going to be two battles, one at 11 and one at 4. And the first battle is going to be just the Union forces actually on their way to link up with Grant's main body and continue their push south. And basically they're going to encounter some unexpected Confederates on the way.
Oh, really? You mean we're scooping everybody right here now?
That's it.
You're also going to have a court-martial?
Well, you know, there's always the possibility that, you know, with the green troops that they keep sending us to flesh out our numbers from the north, those new boys, you never know how it's going to go when they get their first taste of battle. So if one runs, we're going to have to take them up on charges.
Is it important for everybody here? Are you going to have over 100 reenactors?
Over 100, about 120, yes, sir.
Now, is it important for every reenactor to assume the identity of somebody who lived during that time period?
Not particularly. A lot of reenactors, again, if they had family who had served, a lot of them try to get a personal connection. And like myself, if the impression fits the event I'm going to, like Gettysburg, I will assume the impression of my ancestor, just because it gives it a bit more of a deeper meaning when you're actually there in the same position that they were. But some people like to get real, into it, and will find a member who is either locally that was in a unit that went out from their hometown. So it just all depends on the degree of what reenactors want to do. Most people don't, but some feel that that's a way to get closer into the period.
I agree that is, and I've talked to people who really assume talk about method acting.
Yes, definitely. Well,
you get into the character and you feel like you were there.
They call us reenactors for a reason. It's 50% history, 50% theatrics. It really is. It's all about becoming part of a time period, and that's what we really strive to do. Whether or not we use a name that was, use a person that was from that time period, or if we make up a fictional person, that's a personal choice. But so long as it's done that in a full immersion manner, it really comes out with pretty similar results. But it's important to do.
I should mention that these events for this weekend and the third annual Civil War Encampment are sponsored by the Clinton County Historical Association, and they've got a new exhibit over there.
That's right. Vicki Evans and myself worked to put together an exhibit that kind of details the daily life of a Union soldier from this area, what they would have had, what they would have carried, what those items looked like. And Vicki put together a beautiful display on local regiments and little tidbits of history about the regiments and the people that serve from this area.
She actually wrote a book on the subject.
She did, so she's the perfect person to do it.
It's I have to say it again because there are people watching this program who've never visited Plattsburgh except through the internet. And we have a very special, I call this hallowed ground, and for me it really is, I know for you it really is. Active military installation activities here since the beginning of our nation and perhaps even before. But it's so nice to have a campus with 3 museums, all of which are clustered together so that tourists can come here, and we hope you do, and bring your family and check out what we're doing here. It's a lot of hard work by a lot of people, not just visitors that come for our reenactments, but people who live here.
Yep. We're working very hard to really build basically a museum community and a historic community that provides people with a centrally located area that you can come and see almost, you can see military history all the way from 1814 to present day, basically, up until the 90s. And, it's a very unique place. Plattsburgh's really played a vital role. You wouldn't expect it to, but it has played a vital role in American military history from its beginnings.
As I said, this was a military installation. It was a large segment of the State University. Champlain College was located here, not far behind us, and that's kind of strange to see a Civil War encampment with the tail of an airplane. But there are static displays of airplanes that were stationed here at the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. The Air Force Base was here since the early 1950s, but there's history that's ingrained in every clod of dirt
Most definitely.
around here. So you guys have both become students. I've never met a reenactor who didn't become a student of the time period they were reenacting. It helps to make it more real for you and for the people who watch you.
It does, most certainly. When we come out here, it's almost considered part of our research, essentially, because we can go home, we can read everything that's on the internet and in the books, but to come out here, we're putting almost everything that we have in theory that we learn into a practical sense where, all right, we've read about the drills, we've read about how units worked as a cohesive group. Well, now is where we can go and put it into a practical scenario to get a better feel to exactly how it worked, the confusion, the chaos, how everything worked as a military unit. So essentially, it's part of being able to go out and to put that research to good use, and then take that back with us and keep going from there.
Historians and living historians, lots of other sciences have field work. You can go out and research this, or you can go out and research that. This is really our field work. It's very difficult to try and figure out from reading history and looking at primary source documents and things like that. You can guess what a soldier was thinking or feeling, but to do similar things that he was doing during the time period gives you a better sense of how they would have felt. And that's an element that's lost a lot in history, and that's really, I think, the importance that reenacting plays.
As opposed to earlier wars, the Civil War is tremendously well documented in so many ways. We talked to the guys about what happened at Point of Fair, and of course they're relying on journals.
Yes.
From both sides. We have a photographic history thanks to a guy named Brady.
Yes.
Who took a lot of Civil War photographs.
Yes, many of the popular ones were taken by Brady, and then other photographers who worked under him or went out in the field also took other forms of photographs. And it's definitely key in this period, but the writing was well kept. Even those that couldn't write as much were either getting other people to write for them, and just documentation like records of who was enlisting. Various states, especially New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, kept extensive records on who enlisted, where they were from, their hometowns, the regiments, where they went through. So all those that are located in the U.S. archives, which is anyone can access those.
Isn't it great?
You can pull.
Wonderful?
I've gone to the archives extensively, and it is extremely easy to pull muster rolls, unit histories, and because it's all compiled, it's so much easier now to literally follow in the footsteps day by day of a regiment and their daily activity.
There were obviously a lot of logistics for every time in history, especially in wartime. But the logistics of putting on an encampment like this are no small feat for a guy like you, Matt. How do you pull it together? Where do you get the money?
Well, first and foremost, it's good people that help me do it. My father's instrumental in it. The captain of the 11th New York, one of the host units, artillery unit, Captain Scott Wilson, he's the registration officer, so he takes all the information for all the folks that are coming in that.
Ah.
And the CCHA actually provides most of the funding for the event, and this year we actually got a new sponsor. The Dannemora Federal Credit Union gave us
about that. That was
gave us
very
some
nice.
gave us some funds, so we were able to track 2 more artillery pieces this year, so we really appreciate that.
So we're on the first day of a 2-day event. Will you have the same battles tomorrow?
No, there will be 1 battle tomorrow, and it will actually be the closing of the battle. What we're doing here is we're telling a story, basically, and it's a 3-part story, 2 parts today and 1 part tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the end of the battle.
That's wonderful. I didn't mean to tie you guys up for a half an hour here, but you're both so interesting to speak with.
It's our pleasure, and it's always fun to, and our job here as reenactors is if anyone can come here, ourselves included, and can learn something that we didn't when we got here, then we've done our jobs as reenactors, not only to ourselves and to our fellow reenactors, but just the local community that's come out to visit and to become better educated in this time period.
If I don't, and I will see you again before this day is through, but at this point in time, while I'm thinking of it, I would like to let our viewers know how somebody can get a hold of you if they're interested to get involved with reenacting in this area.
Most definitely. if you visit either of the museums, there's the little tidbit there. If you visit one of the museums, if you ask for my contact information, you'd be more than welcome to get it. They have it at the Clinton County Historical Association. If not, I'm around all the time. I'm at every reenactment in the area. I'm not too hard to find. But if not, my email is civilwarboy1.
Oh, come on. Civil War Boy 1
at peoplepc.com, all lowercase letters. Anybody wants to shoot me an email, I'll get back to them right away, and we'll see what we can do.
We use that term shoot affectionately.
Yes,
That's
no
it.
pun intended.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for speaking with us. Have a great day and a good weekend. I know you will.
Thank you very much.
Here we go. Oh, we moved about 5 feet away from where we were. We want to talk to everybody here today. Who are you?
I'm Hillary Spawnable.
Great to meet you, Hillary. And you are?
Avery Gravel.
Hi, Avery. And
Hannah Wilson.
were you guys really playing checkers?
Yeah.
Who was winning? I didn't hear any screaming and fighting.
Not yet.
I didn't know young people even knew how to play checkers anymore. Did you always know how from the time you were little?
Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful? Well, they did play a lot of checkers during the Civil War, didn't they? How did you get involved here?
Well, Matt Houston is my boyfriend, so, kind of have to get involved with all that stuff.
You got involved by osmosis.
Yep.
Isn't this great?
Yes, it's definitely interesting.
Yes, move away a little bit so we don't get slapped silly here
There you
today.
go.
It's kind of breezy here today, but
little
so
bit.
far no rain.
Not yet. Don't say that.
Okay. So who are you representing here?
I'm just kind of a camp follower, following the Union. Yeah.
And you guys, are your parents involved in reenacting or
My
what?
dad and my grandpa are.
Really?
Yeah.
And you?
My mom and my dad.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
Do you guys both live around here?
No.
Where?
Hour and a half away from here.
Where?
Messina.
Messina's a good place.
I live in Norwood.
Norwood's even better. Well, not even better, but equally good. I'm going over there camping myself, but not in this kind of a tent, in a couple of weeks around Memorial Day weekend.
There you go.
So you live in Norwood. You live right in Messina?
In Louisville, right next to Messina.
Louisville's even better because it's pretty close to Waddington, and Coles Creek is where I go camping. Right down the road, right?
We had a ball game close to Coles Creek.
Did you really? Did you win?
No,
Oh.
we haven't won any of ours yet.
That's okay.
Listen, it's not who wins and loses. Isn't that what they used to tell us as we cried all the way home after losing? So you're really into this.
Yeah.
How can you not be?
It's true. Matt does all kinds of events. He does French and Indian War, World War II, Battle of Plattsburgh. So I get to wear pretty dresses from all of time, I guess.
But it's not only fun, but it's a real education, isn't it?
It's true. Yes. People
Yeah.
like, ooh.
Ooh, come on, farther, slap. It's like the cow's tail when you're trying to do the milking in the old days.
There you go. Yes, it's good to learn about what women wore and that kind of thing, what they did back in the various times that you portray.
We talk a lot on this television show about bringing history alive, and this is a way to do it because
Yes.
it's bringing a time that's long gone that many young people like this may not even know about, whatever grade they are in school, and it's here today.
Yes,
You try to relive it for a couple of days.
for a couple days.
Now, Art, has Matt also convinced you to be a real student of this time period?
He informs me what I need to know.
Oh, he does.
I know the
That is
basics.
such a beautiful, delicate, and politically correct way to state it.
That's right.
Oh, gosh. But you look forward to it.
Yes,
obviously.
it's fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Do you go to a lot of the reenactments with Matt?
Yeah, we go to a lot of Civil War reenactments in the summer. We do World War II because he has a World War II Jeep and everything.
Oh, yes.
So I get to wear cute vintage dresses.
I
And
like that idea.
yeah. So
Well,
it's fun.
I'm going to let you guys get back to your checker game. No fighting over checkers, right?
Right.
Nice to meet you both. Have a great day.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That was You know, we did. We found the biggest tent at the place, and now we're inside to find out what's going on inside. Who are you?
My name is Jenny Knowlton,
Jenny, where are you from?
Johnstown, New York.
You carried this tent on your shoulders, walking with your husband and your
Yes,
son.
yes.
Over the... Probably not.
No.
Johnstown, New York, were you here last year?
Yes, we were.
Wasn't sure if I could remember. You need a big truck for this
Yes,
tent, don't
yes, we do. We have a truck and a trailer.
you? Isn't that great? How did you get involved in this kind of stuff?
To put it bluntly, it was my in-laws who started first.
Oh, really?
And then my husband says, "Oh, I want you to come on. I want to do something." And yeah, first time I said no.
First time you said no.
Yeah, and it's been 10 years later.
Is it really?
So,
But you know, it's great. Tell us some of the stuff that you have in here.
yes, and it's great because it's a family thing, and that's what.
That
yes,
is good. What's
so-
your name? What is
What's your
it?
name?
Chloe.
Chloe. Yes, this is one of my little helpers that
That's
comes
a-
with me.
That's a sweetie.
So,
how many
yeah.
people did you bring from your family?
3 of us.
3 of you?
Yep, my husband, my son, and me.
Is this something you do all season long?
My husband does it all season long.
Oh.
This is his job. So he goes down south and does a few events down there. He'll leave for a month or so and go on down there. He goes to Carolinas, Florida.
No kidding.
Yeah. So,
And you say, okay, bye-bye.
bye-bye. Yep, bye-bye.
Well, we gave him the option
Yeah.
of coming in here and talking with us. And he made it right to the corner over there because he thought there was a spider back there.
Yeah, no.
When he found out there was no spider.
No, that was my friend. This is my husband who is probably going to run
Get over here.
run off on us.
Get over here
Yeah.
and say hello. How are you?
Good.
I'm
How you
pleased
doing?
to meet you, Gordy Little and Calvin Castine.
Bob Knowlton.
You're Bob from Johnstown.
Yes, sir.
How long did it take to get that beard that perfect? I want to know that.
More cut it, fit, flat, the shorter it
Have
takes.
you been
But
growing it all your adult life?
no, just a couple years.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love your garb.
Thank
You
you.
have to be colorful if you're going to be in this business,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Now that we have them together, aren't they a perfect couple? She said you coerced her into coming on the road with her, and that she refuses to go down south with you later on.
Yeah, that's it exactly.
How did you get started?
My parents were in it, and we showed up to see one of their events, and
Those are the in-laws she was
Yes,
talking
the
yeah,
about.
yep,
And so you kind of inherited the...
yeah. It didn't take long.
You know, reenacting is so popular in our country these days.
Yeah.
It's been coming back here in the North Country, and we have a number of events throughout the year commemorating battles and wars and different time periods. But it's fun. This is one of the earliest in the season up here.
Yep. They're getting a lot bigger.
How did you find out about it? Through Matt Houston, or how?
This one here.
Yeah.
Yep. Matt's in our unit. Our unit helps them out a little bit, but it was just one that we wanted to come up to.
Now, look at this. He didn't want to get on television, but he has to poke his head underneath so he gets on television.
Yep.
This is quite a kid. So you this is a big tent, which you own,
Yes, I do. Yeah.
and you have to. How long does it take to put it up?
2 of us, 3 of us, about 4 hours to put up.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, unlike the circus, you don't need an elephant to help you pull
No,
this
not
stuff
yet.
up.
Nope.
Just keep those strong arms going. But so you got an idea from your parents that this might actually pay off.
Well, it's something. It does a nice job. Yeah.
So where do you go besides northern part of this state?
We go all over the state. Yeah. We do some events down from Florida, the Carolinas, Virginia.
So is this your main job, or do you have a real vocation?
The last couple seasons, this has been the
This is
only
it
job.
for you?
Yep.
Is it worth it?
I like it. It does good.
I want to know why you don't go on the road. I mean, that's not fair.
She stays home with a real job.
Yeah, I got the real
Oh, you work
Yes,
at
I
home?
work.
What do you do?
I work with handicapped people.
Oh, I love it. Do you really?
Yep.
In Johnstown?
Yep, in Johnstown, Gloversville, that's where it is.
With an organization that we'd be familiar with?
I don't know if you'd be familiar, but it's Lexington. ARC.
I have heard about it.
Yep,
Yep.
but I've been there for 17 years,
Oh,
so
good
yes.
for you. Bless you for doing that.
So I won't leave that yet.
And this too, because you meet, don't you meet
Oh,
interesting people
we meet
here?
lots of people, absolutely lots of people. What is the greatest thing is you meet people from everywhere.
I'm gonna have to
Absolutely
sneak out
everywhere.
on you. I gotta hit the battle out here.
Yeah, he's
figure, yeah,
going to battle.
go hit the battle, but don't walk in front of that biggest
Yeah.
cannon there.
We have so far met people from Ohio up to Canada, right here all over New York State, Virginia. So,
Now, when you came here, you were here last year, but not the year before, right?
no.
So when you came here, was that your first visit to Plattsburgh?
Nope. He's been here for 3 years now.
Oh.
I came only the last 2 years. I decided I wanted to go for vacation to Florida.
But you had never been on Lake Champlain before?
No, no.
So, it's not a bad spot, is it?
Oh, no. No, every spot that we go is just wonderful because you meet people, you learn new things about what is here. So, it's
Yeah.
great that way.
This is a facet of the reenacting that we don't often see.
Right.
But it's most of the places are probably glad to have you there because
Oh, yeah.
tourists come in, they want to buy a Civil War hat.
You know, and they want to know what really, truly, what is a sutler, you know, and we were a traveling store.
That's what it
I mean,
was.
you didn't have this much, you know, so that's,
Who makes all the wooden stuff?
oh, that would be my husband who left you.
He does. He
Yeah.
makes it all in the
Yes.
wintertime. He's serious about this stuff.
Yep. That's what was neat. One of our tables went all the way to Ohio.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, and we had another lady that just bought some stuff, and she lives in Massachusetts. So it's pretty neat to see how far your stuff goes, and you know, it's.
None of the clothing is homemade, though, is it?
Oh yes,
Yes?
that is from another lady that makes that. Barranquez Mercantile. She's one of our friends that travels with us too, but she's down south now, coming on her way up. And then she does reenactments too, but this is not one she makes too.
But she makes the clothing?
Yep, she makes some of it. Plus, she has a seamstress that makes it.
Is she from your hometown?
Nope, she's from Pensacola, Florida.
You said you meet people.
Yes, and then we have friends of ours from Syracuse, out towards Syracuse, and they make all the uniforms.
Isn't that amazing? Because people who do reenacting get very serious about it.
Oh yes.
They want authentic clothing.
Yes, authentic clothing all the way to the T to the top.
Isn't that great? Well, we're so thrilled to have you here.
Well,
I hope
thank
your
you.
tent is well anchored because we
Yeah.
do have a little bit of a breeze today. For somebody who thought she didn't even want to go on television, I think you did very, very well.
Thank you. Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful weekend. Maybe we'll see you next year.
Well, I hope you do.
See you later.
All right, goodbye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I wouldn't call you pretty, John.
Don't be surprised if you hear a cup boom every now and again right in the middle of this interview because we got a battle underway. And we got
You'll hear small arms fire first
Okay.
because we've got some snipers up on the second floor of that balcony over there.
Oh, of the Great Stone Barracks.
Yes, and they're lying in wait for some Yankees.
You know, that's a wonderful historic building. And the War of 1812 people and the Battle of Plattsburgh Association are trying very hard to get grant money and get approval to use that building for something.
Yeah,
And
I've talked with the museum folks. One of their gentlemen was over here earlier talking with us, and he was telling us the history of the building. And probably we've heard it for about 4 or 5 times, but it's always nice to hear it
It's
again.
great. That would probably be Josh Wingler and his wife Christina is the administrator over there, and
Yeah, and he does volunteer work there all the time.
Oh yes,
so.
they're all there, and we love to help them out whenever we can.
Yeah.
I know your name is John.
It's John Prushko. I'm out of Middlebury, Vermont, and I'm Confederate Provost Marshal. So I'm in charge of safety on the field and in camp, as well as security for the camp. That's why when you came in, I said we were looking for security violations. We're just watching the camp, making sure that everything's still there when the guys come back.
Isn't that
So.
the greatest? And that chair wasn't made last Tuesday either.
No,
that
this
you're
is-
sitting on.
This
Look
is
at
an original
this.
rocking chair.
Look at this. That is Civil War era, isn't
Yes, it was dated to about 1840s.
No kidding.
and I'm being very careful when I sit in it. You know, I've got a replacement rocking chair coming in, and the sutler Bob Knowlton is
Bob.
He's building me a new one, so that way I don't have to bring the original
He's a
out.
very clever fellow there from
Yes.
Johnstown.
Yes, I've known him since he started in the hobby. Actually, I'm one of the old timers. So
He learned it by osmosis from his parents who were in the business before he was.
yes,
It starts small and now it's become
much bigger. And he does a lot of his own work too. You know, everything that's over there, he's usually built it or was heavily involved in building it.
and his wife works for ARC down there near Johnstown, and that's great. They have a nice family. You meet so many neat people.
Yeah, there's. I've always said that there's a much higher quality of people in the hobby because those people that you don't trust can't get into a unit. You know, everybody coming in new is on a probationary period. You have to see if you fit in with the other folks, if you're safe with your equipment, because we're working with real guns and real knives, so you have to definitely be safe with them, and you have to trust the people around you. So, you know, somebody you can't trust doesn't get into a unit. So those of us that are left are the odd ones.
I love to be amidst odd fellows. You know that?
Hey.
We got a little
We're
slice,
the best type.
little
So.
slice of sunshine poking through just as you and I are standing here. How long have you been involved in this so-called hobby?
I figured it out. I think it was last year. I've been doing it about 26 years now.
Come on.
I started out when I was in the military down in Alabama, and they play it a lot differently down there. Of course, the war's never ended down there. It's just
And it never
suspended.
will either.
It's just suspended for a while.
Whole different
so,
set of flags down there.
yeah.
But you liked it.
Oh yeah, I was ever since I was a kid. I had a thing for the Civil War. I was just very interested in it. Read all sorts of books. All of my school history papers were always about the Civil War, and I never knew that there were groups of people that did reenacting until I was in the military. I was in the Air Force down in Montgomery, Alabama, and one of the Sunday papers mentioned a reenactment at the local fort, and I'd been to the fort, but I had never seen reenactors. I was over there. They had me hooked, drawn, and I jumped into the boat myself. So it was that. I came in the morning, and they had me on the field that afternoon. So,
Did they really?
Yeah.
With the proper pants on and
oh
everything?
yeah, they outfitted me completely, had me trained so I knew what to do, you know, how to handle the weapons, and it was fun.
Learned to die with grace, did you?
Well, since I was a new fish, I was one of the first to go.
Oh,
so,
I love it.
but we enjoyed it.
You didn't twitch a lot on the way down, like
No, they just said drop dead.
You know, we have met so many people in this reenacting hobby, as you call it, and they're the neatest people in the world.
Yeah, there's
but
some really great people.
we hadn't seen many reenactments except in places like Gettysburg. But now it's so popular here in Plattsburgh that all times of the year there's one event or another.
Well, if I had the time and the money, I could be at a Civil War reenactment every weekend, all year long.
Isn't that great?
Even in the winter months when we suspend operations up here, they still have all sorts of large and small events down in Florida, Texas, out in California. You know, where it's warm down there, we have to suspend operations because we do very little out in the snow.
Well, it's not inexpensive to get involved.
A typical soldier going out on the field, it'll cost them about $1,500 just to stand up and
No
look good.
kidding.
With a uniform, the leather accoutrements, and the rifle. Of course, a rifle is the most expensive item. That's probably, I don't know, probably around $800 for a good rifle nowadays.
No kidding.
But uniforms and the leathers, the hat, especially the shoes, and then you have to get into the rest of the camping equipment. If you want a tent, eating supplies, cooking supplies, you know, that all adds up. You know, it probably is about $2,500 nowadays to get into the hobby. That's why a lot of units will say, okay, you can come in and we'll loan you equipment, and over the course of the year you have to get your own.
Oh, I see. That's a good
So
idea.
it spreads it out so you don't have the full cost right up in front. But a lot of units have rifles that they loan the new enlistees, uniforms. Shoes are difficult, but you have to have the right brogans. And
Oh, yeah.
probably the three important things that you can't skimp on are the shoes, the tent, and the hat, because those are the most important items as far as protection. So
And you only do Civil War, John?
I only do Civil War. A lot of guys do alternate historian type things, Rev War, French and Indian War. I have done some historic Highlander in the kilt and sleeping out on the ground, but that was when I was younger.
Now, did you have another profession before you got into this almost profession? Or do you still
No,
work at some
I-
other job?
Well, I'm a computer technician.
There you go. Who would guess?
Yeah, in the on-real world, I'm a computer technician.
Is it?
In the real world, I'm a
This is
provost
it, baby.
marshal. So.
I love it. No kidding. You still do that at home?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's great.
But the research alone, just for the hobby, there's nothing. No one can know everything about the Civil War, and most people pick a specific slice that's their specialty. Like some people like to research buttons. Some people research canteens. I like bottle and can labels.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Isn't
So-
that interesting?
And with some of the excavations that they've done of ships that have capsized or sunk in the Mississippi, they found the ships again and started digging out all of the supplies and the materials that were in them. You can get to see what a lot of the original labels look like.
Isn't that neat?
It is. Get to see.
It's fun to study the time period as well as to get immersed in it. Now, we haven't totally forgotten the distaff side. Susan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm delighted to see you here today. You were far too relaxed.
I was almost asleep.
That's why we came over to say hello to you. Are you really involved with this too, or you just come along for the ride?
No, I'm really involved. We've been, our family's been doing it for about 8 years. And sometimes I dress from the feminine point of view, and sometimes I'm newly this year a provost guard with this unit.
That gives you a great feeling of power, but
Well,
Our company clerk, actually.
I am the
Oh,
company
yeah.
clerk, so I get to write the returns and the morning reports and send those things in so they know who's here, who's with us. Actually serves a practical purpose.
So you've also been involved with it, you said, for 8 years?
Yes.
That's great. But why in the beginning? There were just an attraction there, or what?
Well, I work at a history museum in Vermont.
Well, there we go. I knew we could get down to it. Do you really? Where?
I work at the Sheldon Museum in Middlebury,
Oh,
Vermont.
of course. Wonderful.
And I had a teacher who was interested in having a Civil War program for her 5th graders. We have a lot of artifacts from Vermont soldiers. So we put on a program, and then that was in the spring, and in the fall there was a reenactment near where I lived. So I thought, well, I'll go down to the reenactment and I'll take some photographs. We'll have a slideshow to go with the presentation for the kids. And while there, my husband and daughter were walking around with an 1861 Springfield that he was showing to people that he owned. And by the end of the weekend, to make a long story short, they had both enlisted in the 1st Virginia Cavalry.
Isn't that great?
So I said, gee, if I want to spend any time with them next summer, I also have to join up.
There's a special attraction for reenacting, isn't there?
Well, you leave your time period. You can become totally immersed in another time period. And as John said, you find things that you're interested in. For me, I like to sew. So I sew uniforms, I sew
No
dresses,
kidding.
I sew, John's black shirt that he's wearing is a shirt that I made for him.
You can't see it without.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's going
yeah.
to take his
Here we
vest
go.
off.
Shall I do dun 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 dun? Oh, that's your work,
Yeah,
Susan.
yeah.
Susan made this.
Oh.
I made the
How long did it take for you to get that belly worked right into that?
He worked on that himself.
Yeah, I know. I've done it for years.
It's
I'm not
smart.
throwing stones here.
It's swollen from lack of nutrition.
That's not what it is. You need lunch? I saw some old bacon in a frying pan over there, John.
Leftovers from breakfast.
So you've always done sewing? You like to?
Oh yeah, I think I first memories of sewing I was about 5 when we started sewing.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, yeah. So it's my husband has a full uniform and a great coat, and everything from the underwear on up has been made at home. And our daughter also, I've made her uniform, but she now makes her own.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Some people do and some people don't, because some people have certain talents and they don't involve making uniforms.
Well, that's it. And if you can, it saves you some money and you can end up with a better uniform. Because as John said,
$500 expense that I mentioned, that can be offset by trading and making things for other people. If somebody makes a hat, you can make them a canteen, or do some
thought there might
swapping.
be some bartering going on.
oh yeah,
There you go.
sure. And you see furniture around camp. Now this is some stuff we buy, but things like this chair that I'm sitting in, there are a lot of local people who make things like this and sell them. The sutlers make them and sell them. So you get some local industry involved too.
Bob Dalton. Well, Bob started out making chairs for everybody.
I saw piles and piles of whatever he's made, from guns to you name it over there. Tables, chairs.
Right.
So
But the interesting thing about 19th century life is that every aspect of it has something different than what we do today. So we study the food, we study what people wore, we study how they did their hair, what haircuts did the men wear, were they clean shaven, did they have whiskers, what kind of hats did people wear. The minutia can become very, very interesting, and as John said, there are people who just study buttons. There's some people who just study
lots of
shoes.
people who study buttons. Whose grandmother didn't have a button box anyway?
That's right. That's
and
right.
some of those
My grandmother's button box.
And some of those button boxes contain Civil War era
That's right.
ivory and bone buttons, and
A lot of the buttons on my dresses when I dress as a woman are very often out of grandmother's button box.
see.
The mother of pearl buttons come from my husband's grandmother.
And now those
button
buttons,
box over to you sometime.
those buttons are now starting to be worth more than 5 cents a piece. In case you didn't know, John. So,
Right. So everything from children's toys to snacks to sleeping gear, civilian clothes, military clothes, transportation. It's a great venue for learning about a different time period.
We did an interview yesterday because we have a special event coming up in June at a place called Point Affair, which is North Plattsburgh on Lake Champlain. And there were significant things happened there 250 years ago. And we were talking to local historians yesterday, as we're doing this today on May 15th. And they were telling us that in 1760, the men who fought that battle on both sides were clean shaven.
Sure.
Clean shaven. They were a little scruffy after
Yeah.
being in the field for a week or two, but most of them did not have whiskers of any kind.
Well, you want to prevent lice, and a great way to do that is to shave off the hair.
See? I would not have made that connection.
People did not bathe a whole lot in 1760. They might take a full bath once or twice a year.
We thought when lightning hit our furnace last week that it was tough taking sponge baths for a couple of days. But I remember it.
By the 1860s, they were bathing a lot more frequently. There has been lots of chittering in camps when we read some of the reports about the women that were crossing the Potomac in their horse-drawn carriages, complaining about all of the naked men bathing in the Potomac.
Complaining?
They were complaining, yes.
Okay, we'll have to investigate that a lot further.
I'm not sure if all of them complained, but
Oh,
certainly
okay.
there were some.
Listen, there are a lot of sidebars and side.
There are. And the other thing is, I'm a musician, so very often
No
in
kidding.
camp we have
What do you
music. Mandolin, guitar, and banjo.
Oh, wonderful. Where is it?
Oh, it's in the tent. A little windy and chilly right now.
Oh, okay.
But so you try to learn period music, and when you do that, you open up a whole other avenue of study. I've recently discovered a song at the Henry Sheldon Museum that was written in Vergennes, Vermont, 1861. It was a recruiting song, and the man who wrote it was by profession a cabinet maker, but the actual cabinets he made were pianos and organs.
There you go.
And so he wrote this recruiting song for the Union, and it used everything, the romantic aspects of war. The women will love you, you'll be brave, you'll be a hero, and you'll be doing God's work. Everything was in that song, and it was set to the tune of Yankee Doodle.
Of course it was. What else would you set it to? You know, we've had a lot of music that's specific to this region that actually became quite popular over the years. This past week, I met a delightful lady whose name is Lottie Ryan from Osable Forks, New York, who brought me some albums because in my newspaper column, I wrote about Pete Seeger, who's in his 90s, still singing those great old songs, who wrote a song, who didn't write a song, but popularized a song called Little Boxes, and the ticky-tacky and the whole thing. So she had an album she wanted me to own that had once been owned by Rockwell Kent, very controversial figure who lived in the Osable Forks area back here in the 1940s and 50s. And at one point in his career, a long time ago, he decided to record an album of songs that had been collected by noted local historian Marjorie Lansing Porter, who lived in a little log house over on Ruger Street in Plattsburgh and is familiar to my family very well. So he recorded all those songs of the Champlain Valley.
Right.
And you just inspired me to talk about that just now because they're great songs that are native to this.
Well,
region.
and they tell the local stories.
Yes,
I mean, that's one of the wonderful things in Vermont. The Flanders collection, the Helen Hartness Flanders collection, was a collection of songs from the colonial times, and Margaret MacArthur, who just died a few years ago, popularized those songs, recorded many of the Flanders collection songs. But they tell the stories of things that were happening at those times that aren't recorded in other places. Those details are not recorded in other places.
Like I said, sidebars. We love these little sidebars.
Right, yeah.
You know, it's a delight to talk to both of you. I could easily sit down here if I weren't afraid of breaking your old chairs and spend a little time with you throughout the day, but we're going to go and chat with some other folks.
Well, there's more stories to be heard, so
I love
have fun.
Susan, thanks so much
You're
for
welcome.
saying hello. Best of luck. John, good to see you too.
Good to see you
I
again.
think we did talk to you last year. I'm sure we did.
Take care.
Thanks. I want to hear that mandolin. All right, we moved a little bit to say hello to people. Who are you?
I'm Jim Buell. It's my wife Sally.
Sally and Jim. How are you?
Good.
Doing well,
I
thank
wonder
you.
if there were any Sally and Jims who fought in these battles back in the Civil War.
Oh,
Probably.
I'm sure there
Those are
was.
popular names
Old-fashioned names,
way
yes.
back into antiquity. Where are you both from?
Shelburne, Vermont.
Why not? These folks are from Middlebury, so
That's right.
that's why they told me you only tell the truth.
Well, that's because he's the provost. So
Shelburne is a very historic place. We love the museum over there, which thrives year after year, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yes.
Haven't been over there in a while. You just, boy, I'll tell you, that had to do something. Maybe killed a few cows. We don't know. So tell us how you both got involved in this reenacting business.
Actually, as a young kid, I always had an interest in the Civil War. So
Really?
studied it, and then there was a time when actually we were reading the local paper because we originally moved here from Poughkeepsie.
Oh, you did?
Yep. And there was a group down there that was looking to recruit and start the 150th New York. And
There you
we
go.
went to a meeting and talked to two people, and here we are today. But now we moved to Vermont. We're part of the 2nd Vermont.
Isn't it great? Isn't it
Yep.
fun?
It is.
Did you get involved because he got
Yes,
involved?
I did. Yes.
Isn't that always the way?
Yeah, I figure
Well,
if he's going to go away on a weekend, I might as well go along with him.
Well, it's a small price to pay to keep this wonderful marriage together.
That's
and I'm
right.
sure she wins most of the arguments anyway.
Oh, it's everyone.
So how firmly ensconced are you in this hobby, as John calls it? Have you done it for a while now?
Well, we've been doing it since 1989.
Dear gosh,
And
come on.
and one nice thing is, like the unit we belong to, 150th New York, and then now with the 2nd Vermont, they're very family oriented, so your kids can be involved. So
Isn't it
when
great?
when a group comes out on a
Grandma,
weekend,
grandpa, kids,
Yep.
Yeah,
cousins,
it is.
neighbors.
and it makes it easy to come on a weekend because then you get the whole family can be here, and you're not missing out on something, and they can enjoy it and do what you're doing without missing out on family time.
Are you professionals? Do you do something else besides reenacting? What do you do?
I'm a dental hygienist. Yeah.
Doesn't it make sense? Look at the charming smile.
That's right.
And you are? What do you do?
I'm the finance manager for the UVM College of Medicine.
It's wonderful. We have met so many professional people and simple farming folks who love this, and you never know when you meet people who they really
Yes.
when they're in an entirely different persona for a weekend, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's obviously fun for you, just judging from your broad smiles.
Yes.
You really enjoy this, don't you?
Yeah, it's fun coming out to give out, teach the public about the history of the Civil War and what really happened back in that time frame.
What's your primary focus, on certain battles or your own unit or what?
Well, we'll focus on what the 2nd Vermont did, but our primary focus is actually as living historians. So no matter where we go, whether it be an event like this or to a school talk or to a local town hall to give a talk to a historical group, we're there to teach about what it was like to be a civilian or a soldier during the 1860s.
Reenactors seem always ready, willing, and able to share their passion.
Yes, yes.
Do you go together? Are you a tag team at the schools when you do your presentations?
Sometimes it obviously it just depends on the schedule, but yeah.
Do you? And you enjoy every bit of it. How often do you do reenacting yourselves?
Well, there's something on the calendar basically from March through November.
Go ahead, don't let that fly away. March to November?
Right. There will be some kind of event or something that needs to be done, whether it be a parade or a school talk or an event like
Parades are good. I like parades.
Yep. So we're usually doing something once a month, pretty much, from that time frame.
So you do what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
You know way ahead of time what the events are going to be.
Exactly. And that's where it's a great hobby to belong to, because you get what you put in, you get out what you put in. But basically, you can do it at your leisure. So there's no requirements. You have to be at so many events and put in so much time. It's whatever an individual wants to do.
There is an investment of time and of money to get involved in the first place.
Yep.
But there are more expensive hobbies. We know about a lot of people who go to the casinos and just do this, and their $100 are gone.
Yeah.
This seems to me like a much better way to spend a weekend. So how far do you travel with it?
Well, we're going to Gettysburg on 4th of July.
You really?
Yeah.
Is there anybody here who doesn't go to Gettysburg? Matt Houston, who put this whole idea together years ago, and his mom and dad are good friends. They've been to Gettysburg ever since he was old enough to even know and being able to say the word Gettysburg. That's the Mecca.
Yeah,
it is the Mecca.
It is. Yeah. And to go there, I've said it many times, but I'll say it again here publicly. How can you walk those grounds without somehow feeling the emotion that was involved?
No, it's very true.
Then.
And it's no matter what battlefield you go to, because we've been on a lot of different battlefields all over the East Coast, and you get that same feeling no matter which one you work on.
He actually was in the movie Gettysburg.
Come on.
And
he stands so tall. Whoa, no kidding.
And so when he reenacted Pickett's charge, he was, the cannons were going off and they were going forward, and the whole ground shook.
The ground literally shook. You could feel it, and they were using a quarter of the amount of powder that they would have used during a real battle.
Yeah.
And the ground was shaking with that amount.
Well, people today, especially young people who haven't read a lot about the Civil War, as some of us have, don't realize how much tremendous firepower there was.
Oh, there was.
During that time.
There was.
I mean, these cannon that you hear, it's nice that they got a couple extra cannon here today, so spectators can get a sense of the sound, but the devastation from those cannonballs. I mean, we talk a lot about the War of 1812 and the Battle of Plattsburgh, which was fought only about a half a mile as the crow flies from where we're standing. And there was pretty good firepower back in the early 19th century, but by the Civil War, there was a lot of devastation. People, we don't talk as much about the bad sides, the ill effect on our country on many levels, but it was horrendous. It was
very devastating.
Horrible. As families were torn apart and so on. And things are so much different. I didn't see a medical tent here.
The medical group actually is they're part of the Champlain Valley Historical Reenactors, and they're at another event this weekend.
see?
So they didn't come
There
to
you
here
go.
today.
There you
They
go.
went another place.
We've seen those bloody limbs on many on many occasions. They're very, very realistic. So what's going to be your next one after coming here this weekend?
Gettysburg, I think, is the next one.
The next big event is Gettysburg,
Yeah.
and there's
then
now
we'll
we're heading to Memorial Day weekend, so it's parades and
Parades are good.
things like that. But the next big event is Gettysburg.
Well, we thank you so much both for being here. You're both
Thank you.
just as charming as you can be.
Well, thank you very much.
Have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful summer.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Nice
Thanks.
to meet you.
You
Nice
too.
meeting you.
And we're underway again. We have to talk to anybody who's not involved in the battle. Who are you?
Betty Dockstader.
Hi, Betty.
Hi.
Where are you from?
Carlton Place, Ottawa, Canada.
Isn't it wonderful to come down here and visit us this weekend?
We're glad to be here.
How did you get involved? How did you hear about this?
We are members of a Northeast Military District, and we sit every fall and do a schedule for the year, and Plattsburgh was on the schedule.
Oh, yes it was. Come on over. Who are you?
Marshall Pixley,
Marshall, glad to have you here. Where are you from?
Malone, New York.
Ta-da! I'm going to Malone this afternoon.
Well, enjoy the trip.
Where do you live in Malone?
Down there at the fairgrounds.
No kidding. Right in the middle of town?
Yeah.
Right on the main route?
Like to walk. Walk to work, walk to the store, you know.
Yeah, that's Malone is great. I graduated from the old Moira High School before your grandparents were born. So, and I just went back for our alumni reunion last week in Brushton. We had fun. So you're born and brought up there?
No. That's where I currently live. I'm from Rome, New York, originally.
Rome is good.
I think so.
Rome, Utica.
Utica's,
How'd you end up in Malone?
Job. I was in Key West, Florida, and wanted to come back north, and the hospital up in Malone had a position. I filled it.
Alice Hyde.
That's it.
Our buddies are up there. My granddaughter's going to have her baby there any day.
Oh yeah.
John, our buddy. These two guys used to do a little game of horse every once in a while. Oh, he did beat you? We haven't done a show with John in a long time, though. We're due. Who are you?
I'm Annika Peterson.
Annika, where are you from?
I'm from Chateaugay, New York.
We're covering the whole area. Chateaugay is good.
Yeah.
Even Cherubusco is good.
Yep.
Well, how did you meet these people?
Well, I was at the Wilder Farm a couple years ago, and they were there, and I thought, hey, I want to do this. And I go to church with Marshall's wife, so.
See how small everything's connected, isn't it?
Yep.
Oh, and the Wilder Farm is great, as a matter of fact. Right near the Wilder Farm is a little dirt road called the Panunzio Road, and that's where I'm going this afternoon for a birthday party. So everything's connected with everything else. You like this reenacting?
Yeah, I do.
Especially if you can wear a warm shawl like that one on your head.
Yep.
You know, we're doing this in May, and for my money, it should be about 20 degrees warmer today. Of course, you're thinking about Celsius, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if I can ever figure it out.
It's a challenge.
Do you have? Can you figure out Celsius to Fahrenheit instantly in your head?
No, the easiest one is if it's 21, then we know it's 72 degrees.
That's very, very.
40 below, it's 40 below.
If it's 40 below, it's 40 below. That's Calvin, and may it not happen at least for a few more months.
That's correct.
So you all enjoy reenacting.
Yes.
I've been asking everybody we spoke with today how you first got involved.
Well, that's a rather long story, but my husband
Well, we
is
like long stories. We got lots and lots of tape here today.
Well, my husband is a history buff, and he went to a military show, met up with the original group that was doing the reenacting, and took photographs. And then they said, "Well, why don't you join?" And he said, "Why not?" And then he let me know later.
Well, then isn't that the way they always do? I just bought a new car. It was only $26,000, but he let you know later.
Mm-hmm.
But you got into it.
I did. I've met a lot of nice people. I've learned a lot.
You know, there's so much history to learn, not just about the Civil War era, but any others. Do you do other things besides Civil War?
I used to do some Rev War down in Fort Stanwix. but it was time constraints prevented me from doing both plus working. So something had to give, and it wasn't going to be work. So.
Well, you know, I do know people who have either retired early or found a way not to work. Maybe they're teachers, so they don't work in the summertime.
It wouldn't be bad. Another 4 or 5 years, and I can do both again,
Well,
maybe.
you got a plan.
Oh, you bet.
You got a plan. Who knows what our economy is going to be in 4 or 5 years? We don't know what it's going to be by 2 days from now on Monday. But you do. You were absolutely correct. I'm sorry to stand in front of you here. You do meet great people, don't you?
Oh, certainly. It's the whole reenacting communities, and one extended family. Everybody knows somebody that at least knows somebody else here to Florida. So we've got settlers that come up here that I know down from Key West.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, she goes up and down the East Coast. So it's that interconnected.
That's great. Well, Plattsburgh is on the map for reenacting these days. We do a lot of Battle of Plattsburgh, War of 1812 reenacting, but Rev War as well, and even Second World War and First World War. We got some very special history coming up involving a thing called the Plattsburgh Idea when they trained troops here in Plattsburgh during that 1915, 16, 17 time period, and it's where ROTC started, right here, right where we're standing, right around here. It's great to meet you. Are you going to go to a lot of places this summer, or?
I'm going to a few, yeah.
Are you?
Yep. I'm going to Gettysburg in July, and that's the biggest one.
Everyone I've talked to today is going to Gettysburg in July. Are you going to get it?
Actually, she's traveling with us.
Oh, you're going together?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, boy, isn't that the place to be? Huh?
It has the history there.
You've been there before?
Oh, many times.
Yeah, have you?
I've never been before.
Oh, you've got a good teacher over here.
I'm very, very excited to go.
Oh, my goodness, yes. As I said before, and I'll say it again, you can't help but feel the history when you walk there. Whether you listen to anybody talking or not, you can just stand there and imagine what it was like. We've all read about it in history books, but to stand on that ground, then you know. It's a pleasure to meet you three.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Well, I can't guarantee it won't snow tonight, but, you know, have a great day. I'm just kidding.
I'm going to track them down. Here's my phone.
I don't know what's going on here, Gordy, but when you were visiting, I noticed that they're putting this guy in shackles here.
I have a feeling, Calvin, that this might be the court-martial that we were talking about earlier. And perhaps we can find out a little bit more about what's happening here. What's going on, my friend?
Well, this prisoner here was a deserter who ran in the face of the enemy.
Oh, no!
It is considered a crime in the Articles of War.
Very good.
And so he shall be court-martialed, and subsequently, if found guilty, then an appropriate sentence will be administered.
Those are very interesting shackles.
Those are 1860s Civil War period shackles that a provost marshal or today military police would have carried, and they're really complicated to put on. You have to use a key to unlock them. You have to use a key to screw to put them on. So we can see why they probably died before you even put them in shackles, only because they take a fairly lengthy
Let's hope
period.
we don't lose the key and have to look for a hacksaw.
We really hope that they don't lose the key. But so this is close to what a period 1860s court-martial would be like. There would be a panel of around 4 judges pulled from various regiments who know nothing, and would then be to listen. You actually did have a JAG Corps, or Judge Advocate General's Corps, that specialized in military law. It was created in the Revolutionary War, and it was used somewhat during the American Civil War. The most famous would have been the trial of Captain Henry Wirtz, who was the one who ran Andersonville. He was actually court-martialed and then hanged.
How about that? So how did the battle go today?
Extremely active.
Yeah, you're on television.
You know, so really active. We had a good run, and hope that the spectators got at least a brief view of what probably a basic scenario would have looked like with minimal troops. This would have been a very basic basic skirmish that would have been done, and whatnot. So, unfortunately, it's anything major scale, but, something like just a basic skirmish of a lead element of, company sized and whatnot.
All right, thanks so much. Good luck.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Somebody's loading up his revolver over there.
Well, you just never know how this court-martial is going to turn out. I hope there's not an escape plan. We'll may have to get out of the way. We're enjoying ourselves. In case somebody's just turning on their television set, we're at a Civil War encampment, the actual third annual, sponsored by the Clinton County Historical Association on the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. It's the 15th of May, 2010. And these reenactments are becoming quite popular here in the North Country. It's a little bit discouraging to me that more members of the general public don't turn out to find out what this is all about. But these reenactors are enthusiastic and intelligent and passionate about what they do. We're involved now in what is going to turn out to be a court-martial. As we learned before, the young man tried to flee in the face of the enemy and will be court-martialed.
And it's going to be pretty much ad lib. They're going to, they got an idea.
No script.
I think they got an idea what the results are going to be already, but they'll be ad libbing as they go, I'm sure. I'm sure they haven't learned their lines yet.
It's a very interesting time. We do have, as I said, a breeze, if you haven't noticed that. Temperatures probably in the mid-50s, but there seems to be fewer clouds than there were when we started, and no real threat of rain today. And the second day of their event will be on Sunday the 16th, and the weather should be absolutely spectacular.
Attention, Major.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin the court-martial. We will now begin the court-martial in accordance with the laws of the Army of the Potomac and the federal government. I now have the honor to call this court-martial to session. Mr. Prosecutor, Lieutenant Flora, you may proceed, sir.
I think we just kill him right now. I'd just like to shoot him right now.
We got to fill out the paperwork, so it's going to take time.
The
Crime
prisoner
against
being
everyone.
brought before you is being charged with misconduct before the enemy. As you know, Your Honor, that this is in the laws of war. It is inappropriate, and thus I give you the opening statements and the charges being brought against the accused, and there is witnesses to support this claim.
Will there be anyone standing in the defense of the accused?
I'll do it.
Very good. Do you have any opening statements for the defense?
Well, I haven't talked to him too much, but the defense says he was heavy under fire. He ran out of ammunition. He said he was going to run and try to get help. I don't know if that was true or not, but I need witnesses to come forward to prove otherwise.
Very good. Mr. Flora, you may proceed with the prosecution's case.
I would like to present my first witness, First Sergeant. Would you please, for the record, state your rank, your unit?
First Sergeant Marshall, 2nd Michigan, Volunteer Infantry.
And could you tell us, what did you see and the situation surrounding the actions of the accused?
This individual, while on skirmish duty and under heavy fire from the enemy, did turn around, drop his weapon, scream, I'm scared, and run away to the rear. We tried to apprehend him, but he was a young man and he was running much too fast, and we were under fire at that time.
And as a result, do you believe that fellow members of your unit suffered because of his actions of running in the face of the enemy?
Yes, sir. while he was running away, you could see a demoralizing effect among the rest of my troops on the skirmish line.
So he indeed began to start a panic around.
That's true, sir.
It's not a solitary crime, desertion. You understand that.
Well, the defense may have the witness if they wish.
Thank you. Did he cause any casualties? This gentleman run away. Did he say he was going to go for help, or did he just run and bloody cry and scream all the way?
All I heard from him, sir, was when he dropped his weapon and ran to the rear. He did not state anything to myself or any of the officers, to the best of my knowledge.
Did you?
Yes, I said I was going to go get some more help.
Did the sergeant did not hear it?
I don't think he heard it because we were under fire.
Very good, sir. May cross-examine.
Commission's,
I have a few questions before we proceed. So, how long have you been in the infantry, son?
A year.
Where are you from?
New York.
Very good. Were you scared today?
Yes, I was.
Did you think everyone else next to you was scared today?
Yes.
Did you run?
I ran to go get help.
Did you run?
Yes.
Did anyone else run?
No.
So then you ran, and the others didn't, but they were all scared. First Sergeant, thank you very much.
So
May proceed.
permission to examine the accused. So you ran today, did you not?
I did.
And could you tell us the circumstances? What was the situation? What was this battle like? Could you please recount that for us?
Well, my platoon was under heavy fire, and we were suffering many casualties, and I was out of ammunition. So I started running back to go get help, and I was also scared.
And what did you do when you found this help?
Nothing. I hid.
You did nothing. Did you inform a higher ranking officer or NCO of this situation?
No, there was no one there. Everyone was on the battlefield.
So essentially you ran for help and you found no one and didn't tell anybody.
Yes.
Your Honor, I arrest this case as the accused ran and having not found any help or notified any higher authority, indeed ran and acted in cowardice in front of the face of the enemy.
Thank you.
May I have a word with my client?
Yes, 1 minute.
On the behalf of my client, he wants to plead guilty to this charge. But I am asking for leniency that he be branded a coward and drummed out of the service instead of a death sentence. It is up to you, gentlemen of this board, to make that decision.
Your Honor, if we drum this individual out of camp, what kind of message would this show? We are an organized, cohesive military. We are not some ragtag band of militia that just can do as they please. There is a set guidelines as seen before you in the laws of war. This is a severe crime and sentencing must be passed, and I ask that you do so with the best consideration, as will lead to an example to all those who would wish to act with such disobedience in the face of God.
Here, here, Lieutenant.
Well, being that the Major's views are clearly stated in this case, the final decision falls on me. We'll adjourn for a few moments so that I may confer with the Major in private, and we will return. Until then, the accused is to be kept under irons and not moved from this position. Lieutenant Flora, thank you very much for your prosecution. Captain, thank you. All right.
Guard detail in place.
I don't think it looks good for the defendant. What do you
I
think?
think you may be right.
He's conferring with the guy who wanted to shoot him right away.
Oh, I think we're going to get back in session here. That was a very quick determination.
Yeah, attention.
Guard detail. Order arms.
State your name.
Brendan Charlin.
Brendan Charlin. Private Charlin. What is your unit? With the testimony provided by the first sergeant, prosecution's argument, and your defense all being considered, there is no denying that you ran. You admittedly ran out of fear. Many men were afraid today. You're not alone in that. But you were alone in one aspect. You ran, leaving your comrades behind, with no clear wish to obtain more ammunition because you left your weapon. What were you planning on doing with ammunition and no weapon?
I was going to run back.
Run back and procure a weapon that may or may not have become part of the enemy's equipment, been captured by the enemy. Well, the guidelines and the rules of war are very clear on this matter. The defense has asked for leniency. I cannot provide you any leniency. The crime you've committed is not only to the men that you were fighting beside today, whom you left and abandoned out of cowardice. It's also a crime against the entire army of the Republic, the entire army of the Potomac, the federal government, the president, myself, the major, all of us who every day are fighting for a cause, which you abandoned today because you were afraid. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
My decision in this matter is that you will be executed as soon as possible. Your personal effects will be collected and sent to your family. You'll need to fill out a letter for your final words to your family. First Sergeant, you'll prepare a detail. You'll need seven men, or as many as you can find today. Casualties have been high. No thanks to you. We will immediately convene over here up against that bank for execution.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
I call this court-martial to an end. Thank you, gentlemen. May God have mercy on your soul. God save the Union, gentlemen. Dismissed.
So, do you wish me to carry out this?
No, I'll carry it out.
Sir.
Keep them under lock and key. First Sergeant, you're dismissed to prepare the firing squad.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Prisoner set. Our detail, keep this man under one flag.
Yes, Sergeant.
Sergeant?
Well, it would have been nice to close the program out on a high note, but as it turns out, we had an official court-martial, and the prisoner will be executed. That's something we won't be showing on Hometown Cable in our little corner today, but at least you get a flavor of what it was like when somebody abandoned the troops in the field in the face of the enemy. This has been a great kick for us. Calvin and I love to come back every year. This is the third annual Civil War Encampment on the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base, with well over 100 reenactors coming here, as you have seen throughout the course of our program, from various states and counties in New York, Vermont, and across the border in Canada. Thanks to Matt and the whole crew. Thanks to the Clinton County Historical Association, to those people in the credit union in Dannemora that gave them the added monetary incentive to carry this out this weekend. This is day one of a two-day event. There will be another battle this afternoon and other battles tomorrow as the encampment continues. Thank you all for watching. This is another phase of North Country history which we're pleased to bring to you through these reenactors and this encampment in Plattsburgh. We're committed to do that each time it occurs, wherever it occurs, if we have the time available and Calvin can carry that camera around. Thanks, of course, to all the reenactors who took time out of their busy schedules to be here, to get involved in this so-called hobby of reenacting, because it takes a great deal of time and money to start it up. But it seems to me in interviewing these people today that there aren't very many pleasures that are greater than the camaraderie involved in reenacting, because you are repeating and reorganizing a little slice of history every time you go to one of these events. Thanks to the people who came and attended. Our special thanks to people who view this program on the internet at hometowncablenetwork.com, at plattsburgh.com, on the various cable systems. Wherever you are, thank you again for making this important part of your day. If you have any suggestions as to what further interviews might be, places, venues that we might attend to record historic events or any kind of interviews with interesting people and places, please contact Calvin Castine or myself, Gordy Little, and we'll do whatever we can, at least to consider your suggestions. If you do have a checkbook that doesn't have too much writing in it, please fill out a generous check and send it to Hometown Cable, care of Calvin Castine on the Ridge Road in Champlain, so that we can keep these programs going far into the future. We enjoy every single one. And who knows where we're going to be next time for our little corner.